Double, double, toil and trouble, fires burn and cauldrons bubble. Hey y'all, it's Sarah Sunshine. Happy October. It's that time of year, scary time. Gone as a witch. I've got my nifty room right here that I'm going to leave this filming from on it. So I want to welcome you all to a bioactive frog habitat or terrarium. And you're going to need several different things for it. And first thing is going to be your tank, of course. We have a very teeny tiny frog. So he's going to be moving up from a different tank into this tank. And for bioactive, you're going to need your bioactive materials. You're going to need your lava rocks. You're going to need your bioactive soil. You're going to need your leaf litter. And of course, you're going to need your filter fabric. To make your terrarium completely bioactive, you're going to also need springtails and isopods. This soil is completely saturated, seeded with springtails. And I've got a few isopods right here. Since it's a small tank, there doesn't need to be many. You're also going to want to put moss in your tank. This tank is for frogs, and frogs love moss. Don't put too much though, because they can get lost in it. So just keep that in mind. Also keep in mind you want to use all natural and no dye. That is not good. It can seep into their skin. I'm going to be doing a video on cool facts about frogs here coming up, so keep an eye on the channel for that. And this, now depending on what you're putting in here, some frogs and such don't have specific lighting needs. However, if you can make your animal like as close to nature as possible, that's going to make them happy and healthy as possible. So I recommend trying to do that. Replicate nature for them as much as you can. Now you're also going to need a thermometer and hygrometer, and we prefer digital. However, I will be also doing a video on the different thermometers and hygrometers here shortly, so keep an eye out for that too. Look at me plugging myself in my video all over the place. I didn't mean to do that. But so then you also need your water dish. And what we've done, it's very shallow, but you also want to take like a glass bead that you can get from the dollar store, something like that, and put it in there so that crickets don't drown. And also we have like a very small frog, so your critter maybe doesn't drown in it as well. And then we have a, shouldn't go over this probably first over the plant. However, we have a temperature gauge. What this is you hold it up to your tank, and this one is really cool. It's a Zoom Ed, and I forget the name. I'll put the link down in the description, or the name at least. And all you do is hold it up and it tells you the ambient temperature. So that's great. Well, you'd want to hold it in the tank. This is reading now the ambient temperature of the air around me. Now I'm also going to put a live plant in this terrarium. It was very hard to find a small enough plant to fit in here at this time of year. But anyways, I went ahead and picked an anthurium, and I'm going to also be making a video about terrarium slash, animal safe plants here shortly too, so keep an eye out for that. Now that I've gone over and shown you everything, I am going to show you how to put it all together. All right, now let's put this together, the fun part. This nano terrarium comes with a top opening feature, which I really like. So obviously, if you have that feature on your terrarium, you're going to want to use it for something like what we're doing. But I would also open the front of it as well. This was already open. This has a nice little locking feature in case you need to lock your animal in for security, like if you're boarding them or something. I recently did a tank review in which it had the same feature, but I didn't notice, so I didn't point it out. All right, now let's fill this up. Let's start with the lava rocks. It's easier to do it this way. Now you're going to want to put down your filter fabric. I've already cut this to size. You can find this at your local pet store. Okay, now that that has been put in, you need to, because this plant is in regular potting soil, there are things in it that are dangerous for like fertilizers for your animals. As well, there could be pesticides and insecticides on the leaves and or flowers of the plant that you're using. So you're going to need to take it out of the soil completely and rinse it all off if possible. Some plants, maybe it's not possible to rinse like the top off completely. They're too delicate. I would recommend maybe using a different plant so you don't deal with that, but I'll be back in just a minute. I'm back. I've rinsed the plant completely, the root system as well as the plant itself, like I mentioned. This plant has a very tall root system, and like I said, it was hard to find a plant that was safe for terrariums this time of year that was small enough. I even thought about maybe cutting this one off, but instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant it at an angle right here in the corner and have it kind of run along the back. But in order to do so, I kind of need to move the tank this way so I can see what I'm doing. Now, I already have my bioactive dirt available. Finished, you can go ahead and add some tank decorations and needed accessories like their little pool, and I will show you that, and of course the thermometer and the isopods and stuff need to go in there, but that's putting your plant in. All right, now it's time for one of the most important parts of making your enclosure bioactive, and that's adding the springtails. Anyone who's watched my videos will know I'm not calling them spring pods today. My brain gets things mixed up sometimes. What can I say? I'm getting old. So that soil was completely seeded, saturated actually with springtails. So I'm going to go ahead and dump that in and just spread it out a little bit. I mean, they'll make their way around anyways, honestly. But I just go ahead and spread it out. Make it easier for them and make the tank, I guess, look better. Okay, so we've done that. Now we want to add our isopods. And today we are adding dairy cow isopods. And this is what they look like. They're a very hardy species, so they're really good to keep, especially for beginners, and they're great for bioactive tanks. They eat everything, so anything that falls to the floor and dies, which is called detritus, they are detritivores, they will eat. And by the way, they're not insects, they are actually crustaceans. So let's put these guys in there. We're not going to put many because it's not a very big house. So there's not room for a lot of them. And these guys like to burrow. It's cool to watch their little tunnels that they make. So we'll go ahead and put that out of the way. Now it's time for leaf litter. Leaf litter is extremely important, especially for the isopods and the springtails. The reason being is that they eat them. These are magnolia leaves. These are hardwood leaf. I find that porcelios tend to like these. However, some of the other species like softer wood leaves, like oak leaves. So do some research on your isopods and what they like. So that's that part. Now we need to put in a little water dish, which is actually not for drinking, it's for him to soak in. And if you have a little critter or you have crickets in your enclosure, I would recommend putting like a little glass bead or something in it so they have a way out. Crickets will drown themselves, and then if you have a really small, animal, they might get in there and not be able to get out, and you don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and set that right there. And oh, I forgot the moss. You don't want to add too much moss because it creates a lot of places for crickets to hide, and it makes it harder for your animal to find them. Although, maybe good hunting for them. We don't know because we're not them. But you do want to add some moss to the enclosure. It helps keep the humidity up in the environment. And we'll go ahead and stick a little bit back here. I think that looks pretty good. Maybe that little spot in the front. Just a little teeny bit. So he has a place to hide right there. He looks like he wants to burrow already. Oh. There you go, little guy. Okay. Now, if you want to attach your thermometer, this would be the time to do it. There's instructions in here. I've already placed the battery and suction cups on this one. And of course, you need to, I should have done this part too. Take the twisty tie off. And what you do is suction cup it to the outside of your terrarium. And this is where the space is, right back here for this particular one. So you can run stuff through. And then you would take this part and you would run it, and there's so much cord, so you don't need that much. You would just run it in here and stick it in, and it's going to tell you the temperature that your tank is getting to, or at, I should say. So there we've got that, and I would snap the tank back shut so you don't get any escapees. And your temperature gauge gun, you would just open the front door, hold it in, point, and it's going to tell you what the temperature, the ambient temperature in your enclosure is, because we don't have any lighting on yet. Of course, it's reading the temperature of our house, which is 75.5, and way too hot for me. But that's another story. So there's that. And of course, lighting. Now, a lot of frogs, like dumpy frogs, and honestly, American tree frogs too, because they're nocturnal, don't really have any specific lighting needs. However, you should provide them with light because in nature they are exposed to light. So I had gotten this for Rusty because the same thing, crested geckos aren't required to have light, supposedly you don't need it, but I got this for him because he was in this tank and he just moved up to a bigger tank. So this is just a little nano hood and nano bulb. It's made by ZoomEd. You can find it like with all the hermit crab stuff at your local pet store. That's where I found it at least. And then it has a little nano 40-watt bulb. This particular bulb provides heat and UVA. So I would just place it. They sell little hooks that you can hang it on. We don't find the need for that, honestly. So you just plug it in and turn it on at that point. And after that, you're going to want to spray the enclosure down. I would actually not just fill the pool, but I would water the plant. Put a good amount of water in there for the plant. And I would follow first your pet guide, but also don't like overwater or over sun or heat your plant either, if you don't want to kill it, that is. So that's all nice and sprayed down and wet. And we're ready for the very last part, which is the most fun part in my opinion. It's time for Teeny Tiny. Let's go get him. Now it's time for Teeny Tiny, the teeniest frog you'll ever have seen. He's actually gotten bigger since we got him, but he's an American green tree frog. They're not fond of being held, so you all may watch me chase him around the room right now. Let's see what happens. You can get American green tree frogs tolerant of being held. I have a couple adults that I've had for now quite some time that will allow me to hold them, but this little guy, he is not fond yet of being held. And this is Teeny Tiny. Hopefully he doesn't hop off. The teeny tiniest frog you'll ever have seen. Look at him hiding in his old bush. Oh, he's about to jump. Oh, I knew it. Yes, you guys are gonna watch me chase him. Come on, baby. Come on. It's okay. Oh. Oh. Oh, and you have to be kind of careful and gentle with frogs as not to hurt them. But there we go. Now Teeny Tiny is in his new little forest house. Yay! Say bye, Teeny Tiny. Bye, Teeny Tiny.